In a land far away lived a respected leader named Sheikh Tariq. He was known throughout his kingdom for being both kind and very wise. His heart was full of love for his people, and he always thought about what was best for them. Sheikh Tariq had a beloved son, Prince Rashid, who was growing into a fine young man. It was time for Rashid to find a wife, someone who would stand by his side and help him rule the kingdom one day. The sheikh wanted more than just a pretty face. He wished for his son to marry a woman with a good heart and a clever mind. He knew that finding such a person would be a challenge, but he was determined to find the perfect match for Rashid, a partner who would bring honor and happiness to their family and the entire kingdom. Word of Sheikh Tariq's search for a princess spread quickly across the land. From every corner of the kingdom, noble families and even those of high standing in neighboring lands began to arrive at the grand palace. Each family brought their daughters, dressed in their finest silks and jewels, their hearts fluttering with hope. They dreamed of their daughter being chosen to marry the handsome Prince Rashid and become the future queen. The palace courtyards buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Carriages lined the roads, and the air filled with the sweet scents of perfumes and the soft rustle of expensive fabrics. Mothers coached their daughters on their manners, their smiles, and their graceful bows, all hoping to catch the sheikh's and the prince's eyes. They believed that beauty and good manners were all that was needed to win the prince's heart, not knowing the true test Sheikh Tariq had planned. The many eager young women, dressed in their finest clothes, filled the palace halls with chatter and laughter. They believed their beauty and graceful movements would surely win Prince Rashid's favor. But Sheikh Tariq knew that a true queen needed more than just a lovely face or elegant manners. He understood that ruling a kingdom required a sharp mind, a kind spirit, and a thoughtful heart. He had seen many beautiful women who lacked true understanding or empathy. So the wise sheikh decided to put the girls to a special test. He wanted to look past their fancy dresses and charming smiles. He aimed to find out who among them truly possessed wisdom and kindness, qualities that shone from within, not just those that were painted on the outside. This secret test would show him who was truly worthy of becoming his son's wife and a future leader of his beloved people. The day came for the special test. All the young women gathered in a grand hall, their smiles bright but a little nervous. Sheikh Tariq entered, his eyes scanning the room. Instead of asking simple questions about their families or their favorite flowers, he began to speak in a very old and special kind of Arabic. It was a language from long ago, filled with beautiful, complex words that were rarely used anymore. Many people, even those who were educated, did not understand this ancient tongue. The sheikh chose this difficult language on purpose. He knew that only someone truly dedicated to learning, someone with a deep love for knowledge, would have taken the time to study such old words. He watched their faces carefully as he spoke, his voice calm and steady. He knew this would truly show him who was paying attention and who had a mind that searched for wisdom. As Sheikh Tariq spoke, a hush fell over the grand hall. The beautiful words flowed from his lips, but they were like a foreign song to most of the young women. First, a flicker of confusion crossed their faces, then a blush of embarrassment. Their hopeful smiles faded, replaced by worried frowns. He asked questions about history, about poetry, about deep thoughts that required more than just a simple yes or no. One by one, he looked at each girl, waiting for an answer, but they simply stared back, their eyes wide and lost. They shifted in their fine clothes, fidgeting with their jewels, but no sound came from their lips. The silence grew heavier with each passing moment, filled only with the soft rustle of their silk dresses and the sheikh's patient breathing. It was clear that none of them understood the old wise words he spoke. While the grand hall remained hushed, filled with the unspoken confusion of the hopeful brides-to-be, a different scene unfolded quietly at the edges of the room. A young maid named Lila moved gracefully among the guests, her steps soft as she refilled teacups. Her clothes were simple, made of plain cotton, and her hands were busy, but her ears were open. As Sheikh Tariq spoke his ancient words, Lila didn't just hear sounds. She understood every single word. Each complex phrase, each old saying, made perfect sense to her. She had a secret. In her spare moments, often late at night by the dim light of a small lamp, she loved to read old books and scrolls found in forgotten corners of the palace library. These books, filled with tales and wisdom from long ago, had taught her the very language the Sheikh was now speaking. She kept her head down, her movements steady, but inside a tiny spark of recognition glowed. The silence in the hall was thick, heavy with the unspoken failure of the girls. Sheikh Tariq looked around, a small sigh escaping his lips. Just as he was about to give up hope, a soft, clear voice broke through the quiet. It was Lila, the young maid, who had stepped forward from the shadows near the back of the room. Her hands, which had just been holding a teapot, were now clasped gently in front of her. With a respectful bow, she began to speak. She answered the Sheikh's last question, not in simple, everyday Arabic, but in the very same old, beautiful, and difficult language he had used. Her words were thoughtful and wise, showing a deep understanding of what he had asked. Everyone in the room gasped. The other girls, who had been so lost moments before, stared at her with wide eyes. A simple maid, speaking words that princes and princesses could not. It was truly a surprising sight. Sheikh Tariq's eyes, which had been filled with a touch of disappointment moments before, now sparkled with pleasant surprise. He listened intently as Lila spoke, her voice clear and sure. Her answer was not only correct but also thoughtful, showing a deep understanding of the old texts and the wisdom they held. He could see that she was not just repeating words, but truly grasped their meaning. A wide smile spread across the Sheikh's face. He was not just impressed by her sharp mind, he was also moved by her courage. To speak up in front of so many powerful people, especially when dressed in simple maid's clothes, took great bravery. He had set a trap of words, and she, a humble servant, had navigated it with ease and grace. This was exactly the kind of spirit he had been searching for. Prince Rashid had been observing the entire scene from a discreet spot in the grand hall. At first, he had felt a pang of disappointment as the hopeful young women struggled to understand his father's words. He had wished for a clever companion, someone who could share in the kingdom's challenges and joys. Then, Leela spoke. Rashid's eyes widened in surprise and then narrowed in keen interest. He had seen her many times, a quiet maid going about her duties, but he had never truly noticed her before. Now her voice, clear and confident, filled the room with intelligence. Her quick thinking, her ability to not only understand, but also thoughtfully respond to the ancient language, shone brightly. Rashid was not just impressed, he was captivated. This simple maid possessed a mind far sharper than any of the richly dressed princesses. He felt a stir of admiration, a feeling he hadn't expected to find that day. After Lila finished speaking, a hush once again fell over the hall, but this time it was different. It was a silence of awe. Sheikh Tariq rose from his seat, his eyes beaming with a profound satisfaction. He looked at the assembled daughters of noble families, then turned his gaze toward Lila, who stood humbly. His voice, clear and strong, filled the room. "My dear friends and esteemed guests," he began, "I sought a partner for my son, not merely a princess, but a true leader. I looked for wisdom, for kindness, for courage, and for a heart that seeks knowledge." He paused, letting his words sink in. Then with a gesture towards Lila, he declared, "And I have found these qualities not in those adorned with jewels, but in this young woman, Lila. She has shown herself to be the smartest and kindest of all." A ripple of shock and disbelief went through the crowd. With his announcement hanging in the air, a mix of gasps and whispers filled the grand hall. Sheikh Tariq raised a hand, calling for silence. His gaze, full of conviction, swept across the room. "Therefore," he continued, his voice resonating with authority, "I declare that Lila, this young woman who has shown such wisdom and grace, will be a wonderful wife for my son, Rashid." He spoke of her keen mind, her humble nature, and the deep understanding she possessed, qualities far more valuable than any royal title or family fortune. He painted a picture of a future queen who would lead not just with power, but with intelligence and compassion. He made it clear that her heart and mind were what truly mattered, and these were the gifts she would bring to Rashid in the kingdom. The Sheikh's words were a clear statement. He saw beyond social standing, recognizing true worth in the most unexpected place. Leela stood frozen, her heart thumping like a drum against her ribs. She could barely believe her ears. The Sheikh, The wise and powerful ruler had chosen her, a simple maid who cleaned and served, was to marry the prince. A blush spread across her cheeks, a mix of disbelief and overwhelming joy. A small, shy smile touched her lips. This was a dream she never dared to dream. Around the palace, among the many servants and guards who had heard the sheikh's words, there was a different kind of buzz. Many of them knew Lila. They knew she was a quiet, hard-working girl, always with a book nearby. They had seen her kindness in small acts and her intelligence shine through in quiet conversations. For them, there was no shock, only happiness and pride. They whispered excitedly, sharing knowing glances. "It's about time true worth was seen," one stable hand mumbled to another. The palace staff, often overlooked, felt a swell of hope and satisfaction that one of their own had been recognized for her inner light. While joy bloomed in Lila's heart and among the palace staff, a different, darker feeling spread through the noble families. Their faces, once filled with hope, now twisted with disbelief, then anger, and finally, bitter jealousy. How could a simple maid, without a noble name or a rich dowry, be chosen over their daughters, who had been trained their whole lives for such a position? Whispers turned into grumbles, and grumbles into angry protests. "This is an insult," one father fumed, his voice low but fierce. "Our daughters are princesses, not servants." Mothers clutched their pearls, their eyes narrowed at Lila, as if her presence alone was an affront. They felt cheated and humiliated, their grand plans for wealth and power suddenly shattered. They couldn't understand the sheikh's wisdom, seeing only the maid's humble status and their own lost opportunity. Even with the grumbling and disapproving looks from the noble families, Sheikh Tariq's word was law. Prince Rashid, far from being upset by his father's choice, was keen to learn more about Leela. Soon after the announcement, he sought her out, not in the formal palace settings, but in quieter corners where they could talk freely. They would meet in the palace gardens, where the scent of jasmine filled the air, or in the peaceful library surrounded by the very books Lila loved. Rashid found that her mind was as beautiful as her spirit. She spoke not just of old texts, but of her dreams for the kingdom, her clever ideas to help the people, and her gentle understanding of others. He saw the kindness his father spoke of in every one of her actions. Despite the whispers and the lingering jealousy from some, their shared moments were filled with respectful conversation and growing admiration. As days turned into weeks, the respectful conversations between Rashid and Leela deepened into something more profound. They found joy in shared laughter, comfort in quiet understanding, and excitement in planning for the future of the kingdom. Rashid admired Lila's sharp mind and her gentle heart, while Lila was drawn to Rashid's kindness and his true desire to serve his people. Their bond grew strong, like a sturdy vine wrapping around a pillar. It wasn't long before everyone in the palace, even those who had grumbled at first, could see the truth. The way Rashid looked at Lila, full of warmth and respect, and the way Lila's eyes sparkled when she spoke with him, showed a deep and true love. They complemented each other perfectly, like two halves of a whole. It became clear that the sheikh's wisdom had indeed found the most perfect match for his son, a match born not of status, but of genuine connection. The love between Rashid and Leela grew, strong and true, erasing all doubts about the sheikh's unusual choice. Soon the day of their wedding arrived, and it was a celebration unlike any the kingdom had seen. The palace was decorated with 1,000 lights, and sweet music filled the air from dawn until dusk. People from every village and town came to witness the joyous event. Lila, once a humble maid, walked down the aisle dressed in a gown of shimmering silk, looking every bit a queen. Rashid, handsome and beaming, met her with a look of pure devotion. The entire kingdom, having seen their love grow, now cheered for them with full hearts. The grumpy nobles who had once been jealous could not help but smile as they witnessed such genuine happiness. The celebration was a vibrant tapestry of shared joy, marking the union of two souls meant to be together, and a hopeful beginning for their future reign. After the grand wedding, Lila, the former maid, stepped into her new role as princess with grace and confidence. She didn't forget her humble beginnings. Instead, they made her a more understanding and compassionate leader. By Rashid's side, she helped him rule the kingdom, bringing her sharp mind and kind heart to every decision. She listened to the people, especially those who were often forgotten, and offered wise advice that helped solve many problems. Rashid greatly valued her thoughts and ideas, often saying that her wisdom was a guiding light for their reign. Together, they worked to make the kingdom a better place, focusing on fairness and helping everyone prosper. Lila showed that being a princess was not about being born into royalty, but about having the wisdom and kindness to serve others. And so, Princess Lila and Prince Rashid lived a long and happy life together, ruling their kingdom with love and wisdom. Their story became a famous tale, told from generation to generation, reminding everyone that true worth is not found in fancy clothes, shiny jewels, or a grand family name. It showed that kindness, a sharp mind, and a good heart are the real treasures. The Sheikh's wise test had proven that the best queen was not the one born into royalty, but the one who showed genuine understanding and a spirit willing to learn and serve. Lila's journey from a humble maid to a beloved princess taught everyone that what truly matters lies deep within a person, shining brighter than any gold or silk. Their reign was peaceful and fair, a testament to the idea that love and intelligence can overcome any obstacle, and that true beauty comes from within.